The number of Americans filing new applications for unemployment benefits rising slightly last week to 219,000 from a revised figure of 214,000. That increase is still consistent with a healthy labor market, but Wall Street is watching for any signs of cooling as the Fed continues to battle sticky inflation. Here with more on the jobs market is Andrew McCaskill, career expert at LinkedIn. Andrew, great to have you back with us on the program. Let me just get your read of the labor market right now from what you're seeing.
Listen, I think the numbers aren't going down that much, right? So we're still in a strong labor market, but a strong labor market can be a double-edged sword. I mean, with steady hiring, employers may not feel the need to add, new perks or to raise wages. But keep in mind, these numbers do not include the more than 200,000 federal workers who had their roles eliminated. And the question on many people's minds is whether or not the private sector will be able to absorb this influx of federal workers who are rejoining the labor market. It's already competitive. And now there's another 200,000+ folks who may be in the market.
And so with that in mind, for those who are trying to, and we're going to come back to the government side of this in a hot second here, because that's very important. But as you're thinking about the role types that are still continuing to be in demand right now, even in the conundrum and the mechanics that are, the machinations that are taking place within the jobs market right now, where are those roles still in high demand?
Listen, I think we see a lot of opportunity for folks in hospitality, and we see a lot of hiring that's happening in healthcare, a lot of hiring that's happening in education. We'll come back to those sectors a little bit later when we talk about government employees. But I think that where people have to do is they have to think about if you're not getting those roles right now, or if you've been in the market for a while, pivoting is essential, right? You've got to look and say, now the time is to pivot. Opportunities still exist. Sectors like retail and healthcare continue to show really strong job openings, and you got to make those moves really strategic. If you're breaking into a new industry, and it requires professionals to really be clear and connect their existing skills to those new roles. And the bottom line is the job market may be tighter, but there's so many professionals who pivot with a purpose can still land new opportunities.
And so you have 3 tips for pivoting with purpose. What are they?
Listen, number one, you've got to own your transferable skills. Skills like leadership and problem solving, creativity and strategy, those things are always a big ticket to get into other industries, right? Like right now, it's February, it's Black History Month. We talk to Black professionals in particular, and the tip number 2 about seeking out community and mentorship, 65% of Black professionals said that networking and mentorship have driven their career growth, right? And that's really interesting because about 64% of them said that they're looking to change jobs this year. You got to do things like upskill and staying sharp. If you're interviewing and you're not getting those roles and you get all the way up to the interview part and you don't get hired, interviewing might be one of those skills that you need to bone up on. Also, identify gaps and level up. If you're seeing job opportunities out there and you're looking at those job descriptions and you don't meet every single criteria in this economy, you've got to say, how do I fill in that gap? How do I take a course or upskill so that I can fill that gap in? And technology is your friend on this. And I would say that even if I didn't work at LinkedIn.
Certainly. Andrew, while we have you here, let's talk about a little bit more what you were mentioning at the top here. We are seeing many reports of layoffs and buyouts across various government agencies as the Elon Musk-led Doge looks to cut costs. Can you provide some tips for those workers who might be out of the job and looking at new roles?
Listen, I think smart pivots for these folks means chasing growth. Government workers have incredible skills around policy and communication and management and regulatory expertise, but they need to package them the right way. Number one, you got to flip your resume like a pro. Frame your expertise in policy or crisis management or compliance in terms that the private sector actually understands. So translate that government speak into private sector impact. Instead of things like stakeholder engagement, think about it as a corporate partnerships work, right? Or constituent services. You may need to talk about consumer engagement. The language here really matters. Take a look at job descriptions that are in the private sector and say, okay, this is what correlates to that. So flip that resume like a pro and your LinkedIn profile. The other thing I would say is be really strategic and then follow the growth. According to LinkedIn data, the top industries that government workers have historically pivoted to There are four of them: professional services, education, manufacturing, and hospitals and healthcare. Now that you know where people have historically gone, now you go where the growth is. Healthcare and education are hiring above pre-pandemic levels. Now, on the flip of that, you've got to say professional services and manufacturing, they're still catching up. But if you're thinking about who typically hires people from government,
right,
and then which of those sectors are actually hiring right now, you're ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. And then finally, you got to activate your network, man. I know I talk about networking a lot, but government careers are built on relationships anyway. Right. And so if you've been engaging with private sector companies in partnerships and things like that, reach out to those folks that you worked with previously. Right now, it's February, it's Black History Month, and we're doing a series called The Power to Pivot, where we talk to Black leaders about major pivots in their careers and their career journeys. Mm-hmm. And one of the folks that we talked to was a lifelong public servant, worked on the Hill, and used a relationship and a conversation that he had with someone that he'd worked with and pivoted his role into a corporate job in their policy division, right? Yeah. And so that's just the way it works. Those relationships are going to help you out.
Andrew, we got to leave things there. Thanks so much for taking the time today.